Hi, and welcome to the Tea with Intuitives podcast. I'm Brittany, an esoteric healer, Akashic record reader, and authentic empowerment coach.
And I'm Meli, an Akashic reader, past life psychic, and channeling coach. Each episode, we answer one of your questions about spirituality, the Akashic records, energy healing, meditation, spirit guides, and the unseen world.
So we invite you to grab your cup of tea while we answer today's question from Soap the Dope on Instagram, how to move through deep, heavy emotions. Before we dive into the subject, Meli, what tea are you drinking?
Well, I am drinking my very own chocolate mint tea that I grew in my backyard.
Wow. Well, I can't. That's it. You've won the tea today.
Thank you. I need my medal or my badge or something.
Yes.
Tea winner.
You grow your own tea. That's
it's
amazing.
My chocolate mint tea.
Oh.
My chocolate mint, period. It's herbal tea.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Well, my go-to in the morning is Earl Grey, but we have been really into rose lately. So I have rose hip tea. Lots of rose lately, which I love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you know what? Rose mint chocolate. Would you try making that? Put a couple of rose petals in your mint chocolate?
Yeah, absolutely. I could try.
Try that.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to have a tea company. And it's going to be called teawithintuitives.com. You can purchase tea.
Exactly. But maybe we need to tell the listeners about our new concept. It's Linger.
Yes. Lemon ginger tea. That's going to be our first product.
Yeah. I think last time we were speaking and I wanted to say ginger and lemon at the same time. And I said Linger.
Yep. Yum.
Yeah.
Well, I can start this one. It's pretty heavy.
Yeah, go ahead.
There are a couple of points that I'm going to make to how to move through deep, heavy emotions. The first point that I want to make is we're human, and being human allows us to experience really heavy emotions. And I also think if you're an old soul or a newer soul, or if you haven't spent a lot of time here on earth as a soul, I'll put it that way. When we experience deep, heavy emotions, it can be really hard and really shocking to the soul, because this is a place, if you want to zoom out, this is a place, a very special place in the sort of cosmos where, as living beings, we get to experience very high frequency and emotion, low frequency and emotion, and everything in between. So heavy emotions, unfortunately, are a part of the growth and the human journey itself. So we all will have deep, heavy emotions. Some things that will trigger this are driving. Driving can trigger deep and heavy emotions. A breakup, grief, losing people can trigger grief. There are all of these things in life that as a society we have very easily built to trigger us in a lot of ways. And that's why I mentioned driving, because anything, if you're driving, can trigger you, can cause a deep, heavy emotion, right? Especially on a not so good day. But a lot of things that contribute to deep, heavy emotions can be past life trauma, triggers we have in today's present life that are actually bringing up past life trauma for the soul. So emotions can feel 10 times heavier if that's the case for you. Emotions can be stuck in the body and in the tissues and really affect organ function, the nervous system, the endocrine system. Emotions especially affect the gut. So folks who have really sensitive digestion, that could be a sign of deep, heavy emotions stuck in the body. The other way we can view this, especially coming from an esoteric healing standpoint, is not only do the tissues hold things we've gone through, especially if you have childhood trauma or trauma of any kind, can get really stuck in the body. The aura, the energetic field, can hold a lot for you. It can hold a lot in the emotional layer of your aura, and the mental layer, and the spiritual layer. So all of these things that we go through and we experience, if they're not let go of or dealt with in the moment or in a healthy way, get caught up and trapped in the aura and it feels heavy, it feels icky. And the thing is, we are multidimensional beings. So as we move through these incarnations, we're really like Russian stacking dolls where we're really good at keeping a lot of layers in our aura of things we haven't dealt with in the past, which is why getting Akashic record readings or an energy healing modality can be really beneficial for you because you're an energetic being and we hold a lot of heavy emotion in our energetic body that Western medicine won't talk about or know about or explore. So that's kind of the background of how I want to start this because deep, heavy emotions, it's kind of vague, but it's a very big topic. Now, a couple of things I mentioned before are little things like driving can be triggering, relationships, partners, your children, anything can be triggering for deep, heavy emotions. And then also through this journey of being human, when we experience heavier emotions, it can feel very hard. It can feel like there's no end to this emotion. And it can almost feel like you're trapped within this emotional body and there's no end in sight. But I want to just give you this sort of mindfulness technique of when you're having a deep, heavy emotion and you're sitting with that emotion, what the ego likes to do is it likes to try to criticize the self for having that emotion or put that emotion in a box. Or the ego likes to, your personality self really likes to have that emotion figured out and likes to know everything about this emotion. And it can be really helpful to figure out the trigger of that emotion, absolutely. But sometimes we're not going to know the answer of where that emotion has come from, what is the root cause of that emotion. And sometimes you might not have all the answers you want when you're dealing with deeper, heavier things. My question to you is, can you be the ultimate observer and see this emotion as a visitor that is asking you to sit with it for a while, that's asking you to allow this emotion to come into your experience, whether it is a teacher or whether it is showing you something about yourself you haven't seen before? Can you be the ultimate observer and not try to put it in a box or define it or figure out what is causing it right away? The emotion you're feeling is telling you something about your story. It's telling something about you. And you don't always have to know, oh, is this past life? Is this a recent trigger? What is this that's coming up? Am I holding someone else's grief that isn't mine? And if you can't move through that emotion, or if the emotion has lingered for a long time and it's just not going away, please see any therapist that you are intuitively called to see. Please check the Akashic records. There could be past life triggers that you're dealing with that you are feeling, and that's why you can't figure it out. Or go see an energy healer to be able to help you bring that emotion back into a balance or release or whatever needs to happen. And that's my very long explanation of this question.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. And I also would like to add something about reframing. I think it is so important that we, as you said, we need to be the observers and go, okay, right now I'm feeling hurt, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling angry. Okay, but how can this emotion, this situation can help me grow? What is this situation, this emotion teaching me instead of being in the victim mode? And so you become way, way more empowered through this process of reframing. And it's also kind of tricking your ego and tricking your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ego, that reptilian part of your brain wants to keep you safe. It doesn't want you to feel triggered. It doesn't want you to feel deep emotions. It wants you to feel safe. And that's when the criticism comes in. And this is really personal for me as well. I'm swearing if I was to see a doctor, they would probably diagnose me with ADHD. And I never realized this until I started taking online tests And my fiance has said, hey, I think you have this. Have you ever checked this out? And I just went to the chiropractor yesterday, and the scans, the nervous system scans from the chiropractor indicated an adult with ADHD. And so I've only thought about this for 3 or 4 days. And the hardest part about this is if your mind and your nervous system are wired in such a way, any little thing can throw you off and trigger you, especially if your nervous system is not in balance. So what tends to happen is if you go through something and the heavy emotions start to come in because the mental body or the emotional body is so much, you can't help but to feel overwhelmed, or you can't help but to feel an emotion of such great joy or happiness, it's overwhelming, or an emotion of such great depth and despair, it's so overwhelming, right? We feel these things. And some of us, if you're like me, on a daily basis, you go from extreme high to extreme low in a 24-hour period. That's telling you your nervous system is probably needing some support. And it's probably telling you might need some mental support and emotional support as well. As my point of this is, if you're like me, that ego, that personality likes to chime in and go, why do you feel this way? You shouldn't feel this way. You have everything you could ever ask for. You have everything that you've ever wanted. Why are you feeling this way? Why do you feel this heavy emotion? So the ego likes to start to criticize and starts to judge the emotion and wants to figure out, where is this emotion coming from? Why do you feel this way? And when you're in a stage of healing, that part of our ego and personality is like so overwhelming. It can make it worse, which is why I say invite a mindfulness practice of take a moment, take some deep breaths and go, I don't have to know all the answers of why I am feeling how I'm feeling. And I don't have to criticize or judge I don't have to have an excuse for why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. And once you realize that, you can observe the emotion and let it sit with you and let it come through and come out of you. And exactly what Meli said of it can be a teacher and it can be showing you something. It can be teaching you and helping you grow in some way. Does that make sense, what I said?
It totally does make sense. And also observe what comes up frequently, what emotions are always there, because that is a sign of what you need to work on. Absolutely. One of my biggest spiritual awakening was because I was so stressed that I felt like I was becoming a monster to my daughter. Because I was so stressed and nervous and I would yell, and I did not want that in our household. And so I decided that I would meditate to be patient. And I did affirmations and I found the mentors that I needed to find. And I just want to point out and say to the listeners that Brittany is really wonderful. She's doing coaching sessions, but she will eventually have an inner child course that I'm going to take for sure. So it's not out yet. She's working on it. And maybe you'll have a waiting list soon that you could share with people. But when you're looking for mentors, coaches, therapists to work with, check out what resonates the most with you. It's really important to go and get support out there, not to be alone. And I also would like to bring out the past life perspective, because I know that the majority of our listeners, if not all our listeners, are old souls, because old souls are interested about spirituality. And so what happens when you have reincarnated many times? With the structure I work with, we reincarnate for about 120 times. So that is a lot. And imagine all the traumas that you went through in all your past lives. Obviously, you've had beautiful past lives and more traumatic ones. And the reason why we don't remember all our past lives is very practical, because we couldn't handle all the trauma. Just think about the trauma that you lived in your life and imagine that times 100. That would be completely crazy. Now, obviously, we've healed from a lot of past life traumas in our past lives. It's a process. But when we are older souls, we get that fatigue of reincarnating. Plus, when we are towards the end of our incarnation journey, we really want to wrap things up. So we kind of have a checklist and like, okay, I want to learn this lesson and heal this and that and not fearing this. And that makes it so that a lot of older souls have so much going on that they don't believe they are older souls because there's a lot of drama, hurt, fear around them. But it is there because you are at a point where you really want to fast forward your spiritual learning, awakening. You want to learn all the life lessons. And a lot of times you choose to incarnate into families, into situations where you kind of have a mix of 2-3 big fears all jammed together into your living situation, just to make sure that you learn from these experiences. And that you get the life lessons so that you can be a better person and that you can help people around you. Because when you I work with 10 soul levels from Ainsley MacLeod Spirit Guides. When you get to level 10, it's all about compassion, helping others. And I get so many clients who are like 90% into level 9. And I see, because my spirit guides often bring me to that place on the astral plane where people prepare their life plan for their next incarnation. And I see what's going on. And a lot of people just choose to have that prepping life, that life where they make sure that they go and heal a lot of trauma and patterns to get ready for the next step. And so just, take things one step at a time, little step technique is always the best. Be gentle with yourself and try to see the bigger picture and what your emotions are teaching you right now.
Absolutely. I think just to sum that up, we are multidimensional. We are so much older than this 3D experience will ever give us credit for. If there are things you're healing from and going through, it's not necessarily from this lifetime. And that's the future of healing. That's the future of healthcare, in my opinion. It's not going to look at just who you are today. It's going to really look at your soul story and your soul journey. And that is truly how I think we'll heal, not only as individuals, but as a collective. If you're like me, and Meli, thanks for mentioning, yeah, I do have a course I've been working on because for the past decade, I've been healing my own inner child from a lot of things that I guess my soul really needed to go through to clear up and get over and move past so that the rest of my life can be just great. But I've been healing through a lot, and I feel it's time to share all of those little things that have helped me heal my younger self, all of my little tips and tricks and meditations and journaling and just everything that I've used to come into the place to be who I am now. And I want to share that with you. And I know a lot of you are probably like me, where you may have grown up with someone who there was gaslighting, or someone who, when you had a complaint or you were trying to advocate for yourself in some way as a child, but that was met with feedback that said, you're making this up, or that's not real, or you're just doing this for attention. It really takes away your voice as an adult. And it doesn't matter what age, it really doesn't. Just because I'm talking about inner child doesn't mean this won't affect you when you're 20 or 50 or 60. If you've had anyone in your life tell you what you're feeling or what you're experiencing is not real, or you're making it up, even though you know it is your truth, that can be very damaging to your psyche, to your voice, to your energetic anatomy, and also very damaging to your growth. So honor how you're feeling, honor your emotions. Don't let that trigger or personality take up the voice of those around you that have constantly told you you're not feeling what you're feeling. And so then your own story is, I'm making this up. You're not making it up. Trust yourself. You have a bigger story that you're living every day. You have a soul story that is working itself through you. trust yourself with how you feel. Allow those emotions to tell you more about yourself and seek help when it's too much for you to handle on your own.
Beautiful.
And I'm wishing you all the best on your healing journey. As humans, emotions are probably the best and the worst part of being human. So, yeah, finding balance is really important. Thank you for listening to the Tea with Intuitives podcast.
If you have a question for us, you can send it at teawithintuitives@gmail.com or via Instagram or YouTube.
Your love for this podcast helps us grow and reach more like-minded souls. So don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe this podcast.
Have a beautiful week.